around you, but the whole of your land. That starts being this bold step that I was talking about. I want players to feel and experience what it's like to be a ruler. And this is still true in today's world now. You know, I think if you look at, you know, our iconic leaders, whether it be Obama or Gordon Brown in England, or you know, Tony Blair or Margaret Thatcher, or, you know, some of the revolutionaries without, even, you know, Che Guevara and Abraham Lincoln, and, you know, I think history and the world of, you know, the evolution of mankind is all based around these iconic leaders. I want you to feel that power when you're playing Fable 3. That for me is a really bold step. And being able to sort of give you the feeling where you can say, I'm gonna eradicate poverty. I'm gonna take all this money, all this gold. You can actually walk into your treasure rooms. I'm gonna take all this gold and I'm gonna feed everybody. That's what I want you. Those are the choices and consequences I want. I want you to be able to also think, no, I'm gonna keep all this myself. I'm gonna hoard it and keep it. I don't care about the poor. I'll tax them harder. I'll rule them harder. I'll be more of the tyrant. And those choices and consequences end up being really big. And that's starting to be very important. Let's not forget you've got a family as well. You've got a king or a queen sitting at your side, and maybe they're going to be pushing you in certain directions. And when you have a look at this shot, this concept shot, and start looking at it, are you going to be this henpecked? Are you going to be the henpecked king? Are you going to let, your advisors, your people around you, push you in directions you want to go? I think that starts to be really interesting. I think you start to see where we're going with Fable, and you start to see with these big steps. Or are you going to be the sort of queen that is going to be a bigger tyrant? I think that is again very interesting. So, what does all this mean? Well, we want you to be king or queen, we want you to be ruler, but we're not going to give it to you straight away. In fact, half of the game, half of Fable 3 is going to be set in something we call the journey to rule. You actually start as the son or daughter from your Fable 2 save game. That's where you start. Yes, we are going to base that son and daughter on what your Fable 2 save game was like. So you're going to inherit your past indiscretions. And Albion is ruled, I'm not going to spoil the story, but it is ruled by a tyrant. And one of your jobs is to go out and gain support and start a revolution. And this still happens in the world today. I mean, we pick up the newspaper all the time and here are these revolutionaries try to overthrow the tyranny of whether it be, the Middle East or wherever it is. I mean, it is very much exists in today's world, and we've really been inspired by that. We've really been inspired, by people like, Joan of Arc, and, people through history, whether they be, the character like Richard III out of Shakespeare, or whether they be Genghis Khan, or whether they be Abraham Lincoln, or Rosebery. We've really been inspired by this idea that you are going to grab all the terrible things that happen in the world and you're going to take the factions with you and you're going to lead a revolution. And ultimately you're going to overthrow that terrible tyrant who rules Albion. But to do that, you're going to have to make some promises. You're going to have to promise some things to these people who are going to be following you. Just like our politicians, when they actually stand up and try and get elected, they'll promise anything. Whether like English politicians, they'll promise double anything. And, I think that's a very interesting thing. Why can't we give this to the player? Why can't we, give this, of course I'm going to, eradicate your poverty. Of course I'll make your people more important. Of course when I'm king or queen, I'll let you be in my court. But here's the thing, and here's the thing that's really interesting. are you going to keep those promises? When you find out that when you rule, when halfway through the game, when you're destined to sit on that throne and rule, are you going to keep those promises? Are you going to be able to keep those promises? Because just like many politicians in today's world, they seem to just age dramatically as soon as they gain power. You know, I look at Obama and he's not looking as fresh-faced as he was, is he? Let's be honest about it. He looks a little bit haggard now. It's as if, you know, the truth has been revealed to him. And, you know, the world expects, you know, and in England and all over the world, they expect so much from our leaders. Again, why don't we give that to the player? Why don't we allow the player to start to decide on which of those promises that we're going to keep? So that's very important to me. It's what's important as well is that you're going to see all sorts of injustices on the road to your rule. And I really want people who play this game to, you know, go into a community and think, oh, this is terrible. I'm going to totally eradicate that when I'm king or queen. And then realise there is perhaps a reason that the world is like that. And I think this is very interesting for the player. Let's move on. So once you rule, you're still a hero ruler. You're very much like the captain in Star Trek. You know, whether it be Picard or whether it be Kirk, they were always sort of having to go down to the planet's surface and sort things out yourself. It's very much the same. So after you, in the journey to rule, you're still a hero. You're still gaining support of the factions. You're having to fight very much like what you did in Fable 1. Well, that doesn't change when you become ruler. You can still lead your people in battle. You can still, you know, go and visit and have a royal visit to certain places within Albion. And then, you know, that's very much how Queen Victoria in England ran her rule. She was forever going around and visiting people. I'm not saying that Queen Victoria had a, you know, big sword and plate armour. She wasn't quite like that, but she certainly went out to the people. She was still there. But where you are does make things better, and you must, of course, decide after you know the truth which of these promises you're going to keep. And what you're going to be doing with your kingdom's gold. Now, one of the things that you can do with all this gold in your treasure chamber is you can decide where to allocate it. You know, again, you may have seen these injustices that are out there while you're on the journey to rule. But you may say, well, I'm going to build up a certain region, or you know, these people were really poor. I'm going to visit those people. I'm going to, you know, give them money. I'm going to let them off of all taxes. And we were inspired by some of these images. Now, this image is very, you know, it's a very beautiful scene and it's very lovely, but there's a lot of wealth here. Now, what are you going to do with that? With that land that's there, are you going to just let that wealth exist there? Or, you know, this is basically one person's back garden. And you should recognise certain things from this concept shot. In fact, this is a region called Bower Lake. You can recognise the old Hero Hill here. But there's a new house there. What are you going to do with that? Some things are going to happen there, which again are going to pull things up in your rule. Let's move to the next slide. The other thing is about the land of Albion. You know, 50 years has moved on. It's got a lot more industrial. Bowerstone has continued to grow. And just like in England and many European cities, you know, that's when poverty really came in. You've now got industrial districts, and those industrial districts is where a lot of poverty, a lot of injustice, a lot of crime takes place. What are you going to do about that? You know, what are you going to do about some fundamental questions in this land? I mean, some of your decisions may well turn this into far more of a utopian place, because we are bringing back and we're doing far more of these things